Vintage is the most broken Magic the Gathering format. With the average cost of a deck being well over $50,000, you can expect to see some powerful Magic the Gathering no matter the game plan. Recently, the Twitch streamer and YouTuber I Am Actually Level 1 showcased a new combo deck on his social media which caught my eye. As you can see by this deck list, it is a combo kill with the Reality Chip. The Reality Chip lets us play lands and spells off the top of our library as long as it's attached to a creature. This paired with Ethereum Sculptor means artifacts off the top of the deck get a lot cheaper. But to break this combo, Sensei's Divining Top makes it infinite. As Ethereum Sculptor makes the top 0 mana and we can put Sensei's Divining Top on top of our deck to draw a card, we can activate and cast the top as many times as we would like to draw our whole deck until we find Time Vault and Manifold Key to take infinite turns and win. Overall, from my testing and from what I have seen, this deck is very powerful, and if you doubt me, this video will prove you wrong. To start off the first round, we reveal Lurrus from the Companion Zone and have a great opening hand because we have Ancestral Recall. Before the game begins, if you do enjoy my content and want to support me, don't forget to click that subscribe button because almost 80% of you haven't pressed it. Back to the game, after we press the keep button, things don't look too good for us because the opponent starts off the game with a Bazaar of Baghdad. This is one of the most broken lands in Vintage because it enables so many graveyard strategies and discard effects to make some very busted turn 1s. After discarding some dredge cards, they cast Hollow One for free because they did discard 3 cards, making it cost 0. Things are looking great for us when we draw another Sea of the Synod off the top, but this Ancestral Recall can find a lot of degenerate Mox mana which can help us ramp out these Ethereum Sculptors to win the game. The opponent activates Bazaar of Baghdad in response to the Icarid trigger, which puts a prized Amalgam into the graveyard. This means they're going to get a 3/1 haste back from the graveyard, trigger their prized Amalgam, and hit me for 7. The best thing we can do here is draw 3 cards and pray we hit. As we don't draw any Mox in, we're definitely in a difficult position and need to rip something for our draw step. With a Mox Opal off the top for our draw step, it's a good start, but I couldn't work out a good way to win this game because we needed to kill the opponent this turn. I came up with the line that I was going to play both of my Ethereum Sculptors and Chump Block to try and survive, but it was definitely a losing line. While we did lose game 1, we have a lot of sideboard hate for Dredge. Different to other formats, Dredge does play counterspells, but it's not the best to keep counterspells in for their counterspells, so I take out a load of counters for 4 Pithing Needle and Graveyard Hate. Pithing Needle is specifically great in this matchup because you name Bazaar of Baghdad and they essentially lose the game. And this opening hand is insane because we have double Pithing Needle to have 2 shots at turning off the Bazaar in case they have a counterspell. To start off the game, I use a Gitaxian Probe by paying 2 life to see the opponent's hand. I see 2 Force of Wills, a Wasteland, and a Bazaar of Baghdad. What's good is we have double Pithing Needle, but the opponent has a counterspell. So I'm going to try and cast a spell to make the opponent use Force of Will, and then we can get them with the double Pithing Needle. Starting the game off with Black Lotus, it does resolve, but then when I use 2 blue mana for Ethereum Sculptor, the opponent decides to Force of Will. Now the line is easy, we're just going to play double Pithing Needle, 1 naming Bazaar of Baghdad, 1 naming Wasteland, and the opponent can't really do anything. With the opponent not finding a Force of Vigor, this game was so easy because we found a land off the top, which means we can make 2 constructs with Urza's Saga and get a Tormod script to lock the opponent out of the game. To start game 3, we have a great opening hand. Patchwork Automaton is a very powerful card against Dredge because they are looking to attack us with creatures that are quite small. So if we can get a Patchwork Automaton that is big enough, we might be able to brick the board for a turn or 2. The opponent does start off with a Bazaar of Baghdad and a Hollow One, so I'm going to try and make this Patchwork Automaton as big as I can. Starting with Urza's Saga, Mox, into Patchwork, into Pithing Needle, the opponent does have a Mindbreak Trap to punish this sequencing. While I could have played around the Mindbreak Trap, I wanted to make my Patchwork Automaton as big as possible and the opponent could have just had a Force of Will anyways. After passing back the turn, the opponent dredges in their draw step and finds a Wasteland to destroy my Urza's Saga. Things aren't looking too good for us until we manage to rip a Pithing Needle off the top like an absolute beast. Now I can play the Pithing Needle and the Sensei's Divining Top and make my Patchwork Automaton a 5/5 so that we can block the Hollow One. The only problem now is that they have a load of Icarids in the graveyard so they can start bashing me for a lot of damage. The opponent smashes me for 13 so I block 4 of that, take 9 going down to 7. With a Mox Opal off the top, things are really not looking good for us, so I have to start the turn by spinning Sensei's Divining Top. This is where things get interesting because there's a Tolarian Academy on top of the deck. Tolarian Academy is a great find here because every permanent I control is an artifact, so this will add a ton of mana so that I can cast and reconfigure the reality chip. After drawing the Tolarian Academy and playing out my hand, we have just enough mana to reconfigure and recast the Sensei's Divining Top off the top of the deck, but after spinning the top for the second time, we brick on the top of the deck. Thinking that I've lost this game because the opponent has 3 Icarids coming back, I realize that they don't actually have enough black creatures in the graveyard to be able to bring back all 3. So I passed and hoped that the opponent couldn't do anything to bring back all the Icarids. My graveyard math seems to hold, the opponent only gets 2 Icarids back, we block the prized amalgam, and we go down to 1 life. Surviving here at 1, we have guaranteed lethal. As we have over 11 mana, we can cast the Sensei's Divining Top 11 times minimum off the top of the deck, meaning we can put 11 +1/+1 counters on the Patchwork Automaton to attack and kill the opponent for lethal, assuming they don't have any sort of removal. And this is what I do. Keep putting Sensei's Divining Top on the top of the library, keep redrawing it, keep putting counters on the Patchwork Automaton, attack and kill the opponent. The opponent did concede before I managed to do this because I did name Abandon Hope with the Pithy Needle just for that spicy kill. After casting more spells, the opponent conceded the match and we move on to the next round. Going into the next round, we're on the play so we reveal Lurrus for our opening hand and have a great starting 7. There's nothing else we can really do but play our Sensei's Divining Top on turn 1 with the Urza's Saga and say go. The opponent does similar when they play a land and a Mox and pass back the turn. With the Seat of the Synod off the top, we're looking to play our Patchwork Automaton to try and increase our artifact count for this Tolarian Academy. The opponent displays that we are playing Vintage because not only do they have a Mox, but they have a Time Walk to take an extra turn to make an extra land drop. Now the funny thing here is that Time Walk actually is similar to Explore. All the opponent gets to do is untap their land and their Mox and draw an additional card. Time Walk is a great Magic card. I'm not saying it's bad, but there's a lot of times in Vintage where it's hilariously not great because it just lets the opponent play an extra land. With a Gitaxian Probe off the top, I float a mana with my Urza's Saga, get a Black Lotus, and start with Gitaxian Probe. This is where the opponent flashes in a Hull Breacher to try and prevent me from drawing a card. As Hull Breacher turns off Thoughtcast and my combo, I'm going to pitch Thoughtcast to the Force of Will because if they have a counter back, then I don't have the Thoughtcast stuck in my hand. I am punished for not playing my Tolarian Academy before casting the Gitaxian Probe because the opponent has Flusterstorm in response, meaning that I now have to sacrifice my Black Lotus in order to counter the Flusterstorm. Again, as Hull Breacher does counter my combo, I have to pay for the Fluster. After all of these counters resolve, I get to see that their hand is a Time Twister and we find a Mox Sapphire off the top of the deck. This puts a counter on Patchwork Automaton and now lets me cast the Reality Chip. With Tolarian Academy, I can now reconfigure to the Patchwork Automaton and start casting free spells off the top of the deck. Mox Opal is a great start. Underneath a Mox Opal though, we have an Ethereum Sculptor, which is a great find. This is a guaranteed kill, and honestly the top of our deck was perfectly stacked because somehow we had the Manifold Key Time Vault combo near the top of the deck. You can tap Time Vault to take an extra turn, and Manifold Key untaps the Time Vault. With creatures that can attack on the board, infinite turns means the opponent is guaranteed dead. As the opponent most likely plays 4 Hull Breacher, I take out 2 Thoughtcast for 2 Dismember, as Dismember is way better with a Hull Breacher on the table. Game 2 started off with an amazing opening hand, but we sadly got outgrinded by the opponent's value draw spells and counter spells to prevent us from doing anything. I could show you this game, but it was just my opponent countering everything, casting Dig Through Time, casting draw spells, and beating us. Sadly, we were able to get the opponent down to 1 life, but whiffing 5 draw steps in a row was just too rough for us. To start off the third game, we have a very good opening hand with Force of Will, Protection, and the combo, so all we have to do is hope that everything sticks. With the Sensei's Divining Top resolving, we pass back the turn, looking to spin it on the opponent's end step. With the opponent having a Mana Crypt and access to a lot of mana, I am a bit worried about their interaction, but the Sensei's Divining Top finds us a second Urza's Saga, so we're looking to put a lot of pressure on this board before we even try to combo to give the opponent multiple things that they have to answer. After playing my second Urza's Saga and passing back, the opponent has a Hull Breacher on my end step which I have to Force of Will because it stops my combo. Things aren't looking good for us though when the opponent loses the mana crypt flip, plays an island, and casts an Ancestral Recall. After tanking for a while, they move to their end step, so I make a construct with the Urza Saga, and surprisingly, the opponent taps out to cast an Abrade to destroy my construct. While the opponent is most likely to have a Force of Will here, there's nothing better I can really do but try and combo kill them while they're tapped out, because then at least they have to pitch cards to the Force of Will, so we'll eat away at cards in their hand. But surprisingly, after getting Black Lotus from the Urza Saga and casting both the Ethereum Sculptor and the Reality Chip, the opponent doesn't have a counter. Now I can reconfigure to the Ethereum Sculptor and win the game with the Sensei's Divining Top. That was definitely an aggressive Abrade by the opponent, but we win the game now because of it. What's funny is being 2-0 in the third round, I played against the Mirror, but we won game 1 because of a massive Patchwork Automaton being able to bash into the opponent, and this was because we had infinite Sensei's Divining Tops because I had 2 tops in play, so if you activate one top, it puts it on top and draws a card, and then if you activate the second top, it draws the first Sensei's Divining Top. Then you can loop this infinitely and make an infinitely sized Patchwork Automaton because the Ethereum Sculptor makes the Sensei's Divining Top free. After winning game 1 through combat, in game 2, again we managed to win through combat and counterspells to stop the opponent from comboing. Being 3-0 in this league, I wanted to play more to finish this video, but because I'm moving house, I'm very limited on time, so here I'll open 50 chests to say sorry that I couldn't finish the matches. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you gambling degenerates love the chests.